Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today for our new Nor'easters virtual series, Preparing to Live on Campus. My name is Nate Carrier. I am a senior admissions counselor here in the undergraduate admissions. I'll be helping to moderate this session held by our Housing and Residential Commuter Life Office. We are very happy and thankful for them for joining us and helping you guys along this process. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Sam.
Hi there, folks. My name is Sam Lomax. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the area coordinator for Featherman Hall, one of our first year communities. Tonight, we're going to introduce you to the Office of Housing, Residential, and Commuter Life in order to prepare you a little bit better for the fall semester. While we're here, I do want to shed some light about what an area coordinator is while we're on the subject. An AC is a professional staff member, not a student, as you might think, who lives in the residence halls and supervises resident advisors, like our friend Hui, who we're about to introduce in just a second. Essentially, we function as community managers, I think is a good word for it. We help, sort of liaison resources and student leaders to help students find resources when they're in need. As such, area coordinators are a very good resource. Another good resource is one of our resident advisors. I would love to introduce one of our very best resident advisors, Hui. Hui, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Hui. I currently just graduated UNA last year, actually, or not last year, last school year, I guess. So um, I'm currently still summer RA, so I'm still here at UNA helping with, again, continuing building that community as well as just overseeing the resident and make sure that policy and other thing is enforced, making sure everyone feels safe and welcome. So, yeah.
Beautiful, thank you, Hui. And is it before we move on, anything else you'd like to share about the role of an RA in the residence halls? Other jobs that they do?
Yeah. RA just kind of another person that's live on your floor. That's kind of your connection to the housing office, but they're also there to again help enforcing policy, make sure everyone feels safe, but also building the community on your floor or in your building. So they're in charge of making programs, as well as like bulletin board and decoration, door decoration around your building, as well as just yeah, making sure everyone's safe is one of the main job that we have.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Hui. So I want to take you through a couple of our different sections tonight. First and foremost, we're going to talk about applying. Applying for housing is incredibly important. That's why we gave it a little exclamation point on the slide. You'll hear more soon. We'll talk logistics like dining plans, your parking pass, and roommates. We'll talk about moving on from moving in to settling in, everything that comes in between, what you should bring, what's a good way to live on campus, all that sort of stuff. We'll talk getting involved, which is a very important part of residential life on campus. And finally, we'll give you some Q&A time and give you some next steps. So, first and foremost, your very first step is to apply for housing and dining. Some people do things like wait for roommates or wait for certain factors of accommodations to go through before they hit their housing application. What I'm here to tell you is that is not what we need to be doing. We would love for you to apply for your housing as soon as you possibly could. This essentially secures your bed on campus. Right here, we have a QR code to our new student housing guide. This is going to cover some of the information we're talking about tonight, but it really has some integral resources for making sure that you are ready for your application and for your time on campus with housing. So do take a second to give that a scan if you'd like to. You can always look up our new student housing guide and it'll come right up for you too. Now, regarding housing assignments, I do know that lots and lots of students, based on the calls relating to our office, are wondering about where they're going to be assigned for the upcoming fall. What I'll tell you is that housing assignments are generally made live in mid-July and can be found by logging into Residence. It's the portal where you filled out your housing application. My hope is that you've already filled out your housing application. If you haven't, this is also the place you'll do it. Um, what you'll see here is an example of what you might see on that screen. Part one being your housing application, and part two being your roommate group. Roommate groups, on the subject of that, will be honored if received prior to July 1st. All other students based will be assigned via the computer software if you don't select your roommate group based on the preferences that you submit on the application. If you're familiar, you might remember questions like how I like to keep my room, or what my habits are for bedtime, that sort of thing. Our system does a pretty good job of matching students based on what their preferences are for living. As students, you all prioritize your housing style preferences in the application as well, and you should know that the assignments that were being made are based on the date of the application that you submitted. So the earlier that you applied, the better your chances are for getting your first choice. And finally, I always like to comment on triples in presentations like this. Everyone's always curious what the status of triples is for campus. At this time, I'm sorry to tell you, but the distribution of doubles to triples is unknown. It really depends on the total size of our incoming class. It can be really variable, and we really make these decisions right up until the very end of our application process. So it's one of those things that we ask you to be patient with us. We'll have a little more information as housing assignments go out. Finally, one last thing I always like to say is when we apply the housing bill to your account, everybody will see a charge for a double. This is the highest price point we offer for traditional housing. Now, this doesn't actually say anything about your housing assignment or anything like that. What we actually do is we charge everyone for a double early, and then we adjust those bills later on when students are eventually moved to triples, if they are moved to triples. We do this mostly because we find it to be better to have a good surprise and see your bill go down than a bad surprise and have your bill go up. It's one of those things that students always say, "Oh, well, I'm being charged for a double on my account. Does that mean I'll be in a double?" And no, it does not. Everyone will be charged for a double at first, and your bills will be adjusted as housing assignments are released. Speaking of housing assignments, I also like to tell students about LCs and TLCs for their housing assignments. These are living and learning communities and themed living communities. These include certain subjects like med bio, marine sciences, or different affinity groups like the lavender floor, the gaming community, honors, and the substance-free lifestyle community. A couple notes regarding these communities. First and foremost, if you're interested in LLC, you must go through at least one of the summer orientation sessions in June 2026. We'll talk a little bit more about getting set up for those later in the presentation. All your applications are due by 11:59 p.m. on June 30th, so pretty soon. You'll be notified of acceptance into the program via email by the end of July. Um, Regarding some of these communities, we always like to say that our honors floor, because it is a community that is a pretty variable size, we sometimes and sometimes are not able to house honors and non-honors residents together. It depends on the status of the community. Furthermore, we always like to comment on the substance-free lifestyle community. This is a community for residents whose values align with living a substance-free lifestyle. An example, no drugs or alcohol. To be clear, these things are not allowed regardless, as we assume you are all underage, of course. But we do recognize students will still partake in some of these substances despite policy. This is a big reason why we introduce a community like this. We intend for this community to consist of like-minded individuals for students who don't intend to partake in things like this. Now, moving on to dining. At UNE, we offer two meal plans. They are at the same price point. We hope this will provide some flexibility for students who live different lifestyles. Each plan will give a set amount of swipes and flex dollars. One plan has more swipes, the 17 meal plan, and less flex dollars, and one of the inverse, less swipes for meals and more flex dollars. The idea here is that some students will find themselves operating more readily around dining hall hours or things like that, and they'll be able to use more swipes than usual. Other students will find themselves needing quick snacks throughout the day as opposed to certain times for meals, that sort of thing. We give students two different options to give them more flexibility based on how they're going to interact with their dining services. I always like to brag about our dining services too. We offer allergen-free sections, vegan and vegetarian options, and lots of specialty experiences. There's pop-ups all the time. There's a grill section that's always very good. Always very exciting options over at our dining hall. If you'd like more information about this, our dining partner, Parkhurst, has just recently refreshed their website. You should see a link to it right here on the screen. It's a QR code. You can always browse that website. I always recommend that parents, if you are feeling fun, you could always go and check out the menus for that day. The menus are always uploaded and they reflect what your students will be eating throughout the day. You can see breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's a nice resource, and the website being just recently refreshed is sort of a nice look into a more slick platform, I suppose. So this is a good question for Hui, I suppose. Hui, what do you think our students should know about our dining options?
I think it's very, I would say, diverse option. Like there's always option for whatever you would like throughout the dining hall. If there's something you don't really want to try at the grill, you can always go to a different part of the dining hall and there will be something else available. So option is always available, not limited. Uh, yeah, and they're very very friendly staff as well. So if you really want something and they don't have it that day, like a dessert or some kind, they usually have cookies in the back that you can ask for. Just like nicely ask for it.
Well said, Hui. Thank you very much. They are very sweet over at the dining hall. I really appreciate them. Very kind. Um, Parking passes, always a topic of interest, absolutely. Parking passes for first year students will be available for purchase in early August. You'll learn to do that via our summer mailing, which you should get within the next few weeks. Um, this year, as of last year, I do like to share that we anticipate increased opportunities for our first year residential students to be able to bring a car to campus. This is because our upper division students are more readily heading to our Portland campus for their classes, and thus they need parking on Bedford campus a little bit less. So, all this to say, things are looking good for availability. Keep an eye out for that and let us know if you have questions. Our security team is in charge of that, and they'd be very happy to answer any questions you have. Roommates. Roommates are the bread and butter of the uni residential experience, and they are always a topic of contention. Here's one thing I always want to stress. June orientation is a fantastic time to find a roommate. Since you'll be interacting with so many people, it's a really great time to find someone who might be a good fit for you. You can select your roommates during June orientation, update our office by the 30th. Um, some things that you'd want to look for in a roommate. It's really not just about like gelling friendship wise. It's kind of about similar ways of living. Even if you're not best friends with someone, you might be much better roommates with someone who goes to bed at the same time as you, as opposed to someone you're great friends with, but one of you goes to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and the other one goes to bed at 9 o'clock in the evening. That sort of thing. It's really important that you should be talking about things like social expectation, the activities that you have on weekends, guests you'd have in the residence hall, that sort of thing. Here, we've got a selection of questions that we have in our roommate agreement. Every single one of our first year students is required to fill out a roommate agreement. This includes questions like when we're upset with one another, we will do this, or if we're to feel clean, we will do this kind of cleaning. We agree that guests are allowed at this time, and lots more. You can see a selection of a few more of our questions via that QR code that you can scan right now. What's nice about this to us, especially for me and Alex, as people who talk to students who are in roommate conflicts, the roommate agreement sets a really good set of expectations for how students will navigate some of the more common problems that they'll face. We really try to get this stuff taken care of early on, so that it doesn't crop up later as something more explosive. We really like for it to be an experience that students take a lot of ownership over, and feel like they are the ones who set up their roommate experience. We built it this way because we want students to be able to exercise their individualism and their independence in moments like this. This is a good question for Hui, I suppose. Hui, I'm curious, when it comes to roommates, how did you connect with your roommates when you were a new student?
Uh, I actually was a assigned random roommate actually. My experience was actually really good for like random because I don't know, like story from other university and just thing you hear in general, like uh tell like, oh wow, random is so bad. I actually really like my random roommate. We're still actually very close friend, even though I'm currently in RA now. They're in my building. So we usually come hang here and there and just continue chatting. So it's very nice to like find a roommate or just someone in general that really get along with my habit and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, the random roommate selection can be really good, especially because it's using the questionnaire stuff to give a match. Before we move on, I do want to see that someone in the chat has asked how they can fill out the roommate agreement, and what I will say is that the QR code you see on your screen is not a link to the roommate agreement. This is something that an RA will sit down with your students to do early into the year. What you'll see on the screen for the QR code is just a list of example questions that we will ask. You're not missing anything if you cannot scan the QR code. Every student has to do a roommate agreement in the residence hall, so it'll happen a little bit later. Next, I would love to talk about the microchill rental program. If there is one thing that I give as a piece of advice to every student as much as I can, it's that our microchill rental program is a fantastic way to get a certain resource for your residential community here. The microchill program is a rental that provides a 3-in-1 microwave refrigerator And freezer it is something that you rent as opposed to purchase. A thing that I always say about UNE's residential life is that compared to other universities, UNE students enter suite style housing much earlier than students at other universities do. Usually, by your sophomore year, you are able to have a suite style space with a large fridge. Because of this, it is, to me at least, unadvisable for you to buy your own mini fridge. You can always bring one if you'd like to, by all means. But the ability for you to rent a mini fridge is a big deal. It saves you some money in the long term, and generally speaking, if you bought one, you wouldn't really need it after your first year as a student. Now, one thing I do want to say about this is it's a little bit magical in that if you ask for the rental, it does appear in your room before you move in, and it disappears after you leave. If there's one thing I would say about the mini fridges, it is that they are large, they are hard to move, and they are just generally, I would call them annoying. So it's one of those things. If you would like some peace of mind, we do recommend that you check out the Micro Chill rental program. There's a phone number on the screen there, but I do recommend using the QR code that you see here. It links to their website, which is a little bit better of a tool to sort of browse around. So all this to say, I think it's a good option. Give it some thought. So let's talk move-in day. Here are some dates for you. All first-year students, regardless of LC, TLC, or placement, move in on August 30th of 2026. The exception is for our transfer students, which are moving in on August 31st, 2026. Regarding move-in day, we really try to create a sort of festive, high-energy welcome for you. And this year, we really want to expand the opportunities for parents and family to be connected in the process too. Keep an eye out for more information about that. We'll have lots of opportunities for you to be connected with the process. So here's a good question. Hui, can you tell us what your first move-in was like? And then maybe you could even tell us what it was like as an RA for you.
I actually never had like a normal move-in day either.
Oh.
So it's kind of a unique thing. So first year I was actually a first gen participant. So I moved in a week early or a couple days early. We did some like programs to get used to the people in the commu it wasn't a community, but in the first gen program together. And yeah, just get used to the campus. And then on moving there, I was basically just sit in my room waiting for my other roommates to come in and just kind of help everyone moving up. But it was kind of an exciting environment, I guess, on the first day, seeing everyone like moving in with their parents. It's pretty rowdy compared to moving in early by myself. So that was really fun. For RA and other position like orientation, moving in early is also kind of fun as well. Uh, but again, kind of that unique thing of like not that many people really move in early, so you just kind of not really by yourself because there's more people on campus, but still like a small population compared to the full like UND community. So,
Yeah, I appreciate the energy for those early move-ins. I think we give those students a lot of individual attention. And during move-in day too, we have so many people who are dedicated to student success on campus. We have ACs and RAs roaming the halls. We have lots of facilities members. It's one of those moments where I think that the wide variety of resources throughout UNE as a process really come through, and they all come together. It makes a really special day. I'm looking forward to it personally. So, it's super important to me that we talk a little bit about getting involved on campus. So I know what you're thinking. Why would I get involved on campus? Well, it's for a couple different reasons, right? We think students should take on extracurricular activities because they help foster social connections. We find that at UNE, our students generally get so busy that moments like this are sometimes the only moments that they are like truly able to get to know people that are outside of their program or their major. It's one of those aspects of campus life that's very helpful in that way. It helps you sort of fill your free time. Of course, free time is a commodity for a college student, but it's one of those things that we find to be a very helpful way for you to spend your time. There's lots of opportunities in extracurricular wise to boost your resume for the way you'd interact with it moving forward into the future. For example, Hui, of course, is one of our resident advisors, right? That's a way you can get involved on campus in a way that would look very good in your resume. We also generally find that engagement tends to equal success here, not just regarding social success, but academic success too. Our students who are more engaged with campus life know what resources they have. They're connected to more people on campus. Generally speaking, they are a group of people that I think set themselves up for better success. So if I can give any piece of advice to you at all, it's to get yourself out there on campus, find your niche, and go live in it. Um, Now, how might you do that? Well, there's a couple different ways. We like to highlight, because we give it a little spot on the slide here, Residential Student Life Association, or RSLA. RSLA is an organization you might have heard referred to on other campuses as a hall council. It's essentially a way for students to get involved with decision making and programming inside their residential community. Um, RSLA has grown a lot in the last couple of years as we added a new program called Hall Reps. Or excuse me, floor hall reps is what they are now. Excuse me. The hall reps are unique in that they are students who are elected positions, who sort of run for it within their whole community, and become representatives for their buildings, their floors, their communities, as time moves on. These people come in, they talk to campus partners, they get involved with residential life. It's a really nice on-ramp for becoming an RA, as a matter of fact, because you really get to understand what the residential experience is like. Um, Hui, a question I might ask you is, outside of all the reasons I said, why should our students get involved? What challenges did you find, sort of finding your place at UNI's campus?
Um, I think just get involved really get involved or put yourself out there just really helped me overall find my place at uni because I didn't even know of uni until I would say like January or something like that, pretty late into the application cycle at this point. But my like advisor back in high school brought it up to me. They were like, "Oh, they're the only one with a medical school in Maine." So I was like, "Why not apply and get into the program?" So it's like I'll give it a shot. We'll see at orientation, and uh, just got to orientation and really love it. And when I get to campus, just being involved really like solidify the why I want to stay at uni. Like seeing the community, like the people that are here want to be involved in all of this activity, making the campus what it is. Just really fun and get to. I mean, do the hands-on activity, do the stuff, building the activity around campus, really fun too. So
Yeah, thank you, Hui. I really appreciate that. I agree.
Sam, if you don't mind, I'll jump in here quickly. I have a personal experience with getting involved on campus as I am the men's club ice hockey coach here at UNE. And I know it's just, being a part of the club hockey team, I know for my players is also just a great way to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle of schoolwork, to get out there, get out on the ice, kind of, de-stress a little bit. It also helps give, incoming students a good immediate community to be around as well. So just some personal experiences from my side of things on the hockey side.
Thank you very much, Nate. I always do like to hear the hockey perspective. It means a lot. So, speaking sort of finally here, we're gonna do some Q&A right after this slide, but my thing I want to tell you is if you have any questions moving forward, there are two things you can do here. In particular, you can give us a phone call. We are in the office usually from 9 o'clock to 4:30 p.m. every single day. Or actually 8 o'clock, I believe our office is open. And we'd be happy to answer your phone calls. And there's also an email here, housing-office@una.edu, where we can also answer your questions via email. I always like to say, if you have questions that are in relation to paperwork or things like that, email might be a little easier just because it helps you get all your information in text, that sort of thing. If you have questions about the UNE residential experience, that might be a better phone call, saying that we can have a back and forth conversation about that sort of thing. So keep that in mind. One thing I do want to say that I think is pretty important here is FERPA, right? That's our Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. For many, many, many aspects of campus life, we cannot technically share certain aspects of your student's experience. There are privacy laws here. In particular, when someone calls me, a parent, for example, I technically cannot even confirm that student is enrolled at UNE. Of course, we usually don't need to be exhibiting this level of privacy and care for every single parent that calls. So because of this, it is a good step to go ahead and bring your student with you if you're calling the office, or to have your student themselves email us. It is just important for us to keep these privacy concerns in mind. There's a QR code on the screen there. It links over to our website. There's lots of different resources there, lots of ways for you to get in contact with us. So give it a look.
All right. So now we're on to our Q&A section of this presentation. So again, if you guys have any questions throughout this presentation, please add them to the Q&A feature. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can. Sam, here's a quick question for you, as we have some transfer students within this presentation here. So does this process differ any for transfer students compared to first year students?
Sure, sure. So what I'll say about our transfer population is that outside of what we've already covered, which is the different move-in day, transfer students have a healthy amount of different options and resources that are available to them in order to make their transition to uni a successful one. There are things that are more specific to uni that might be important or confusing to you that might be different from your last institution or that sort of thing. What we say is we always recommend that you, through your orientation, make good connections with the members of campus team, that sort of thing. Also, generally speaking, most of our transfer students, depending on age, should still be linked up with our other first year students. Students who are generally quite older would be placed in a different community. It is case by case. What I would say is if you are concerned about your student's age as they transfer in, if you think would be unsuitable to live with our first year students for whatever reason, just send our office a phone or an email or give us a call. We'd be happy to chat with you about it more. It's a thing that's very individual, I think. So we just want to be mindful of that aspect of it. Apart from that, though, the experience is quite similar in terms of what resources are given in orientation. Our transfer students are part of a really wide swath of different types of community members here. Something that's near and dear to my heart that we run through our office. If you weren't aware, we are the Office of Residential Life and Housing/Commuter Life. We also run the Commuter Club on campus. We run programming for them too. So all this to say, there are lots of things to consider. Your commuter orientation would be fantastic way for you to glean some of those resources.
Thank you. We have another question here, more referring to the co-ed dorms that we have, these residence halls. So we're just asking for a little bit of clarity on the, bathroom, shower, what that looks like for these residence halls.
Sure. Our communities have both men's and women's bathrooms. Our in Featherman Hall as well, we have some gender neutral bathrooms and we have shower stalls. So in your traditional areas, what you'll see are gendered bathrooms with shower. What's the word I'm looking for? The
Stalls,
Yeah, I suppose right.
dividers.
The alternative is the in Featherman they're essentially rooms. They're big rooms with a lockable door. In our traditional areas, what you'll see is that those bathrooms are gendered, and you'll be able to those showers are the ones that you'd utilize per floor. So in that case, on one floor, for example, if there are both men and women on the floor, you generally see a men's and a women's bathroom. This does vary pretty distinctly between the different buildings. So what I would do is once you get your housing assignment, I would go ahead and give the area coordinator of the building a call if you are still curious about the bathroom situation. During orientation as well, you'll be able to take a tour through the residence halls. This is one of those things that you'll be able to sort of suss out as you move forward.
Right, thank you. We have another question here regarding the living learning communities. Just, the students saying they don't see the MedBio LLC on the application, and kind of just again what that application process looks like.
Sure. If what you're seeing is that the uh, application is not coming out pre, it may be that we haven't confirmed that we're offering that particular LLC or TLC yet. In this case, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at our resources here. MedBio, and Alex, maybe you'll know better. I believe what we're doing is we are moving that into health professions this year. Is that correct? I'm getting a nod from Alex. The one that you'd look for is health professions as opposed to MedBio. Apologies for the error on our slide.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. We have another question regarding orientation. If students have already created their roommate group, will they be rooming with their roommates during orientation? Are you able to answer that?
Yeah, not necessarily. Our roommate groups are about our on-campus housing for the residential experience. So it's one of those things that because it's really fast moving, we mostly have our orientation groups be separate. So frankly, I would look at it as a positive. It's a nice way for your students to meet some extra people.
Great, thank you. We have another question here regarding transfer students and the transfer orientation. There is a specific transfer student orientation that you should be attending if you are a transfer student. And Sam, would you know if psychology also falls under the health professions LLC?
Yeah, one thing I want to clarify about the LLCs and TLCs is that we technically don't actually have strict definitions for what communities fall under these. If you believe that your student would be a good fit for that community, then they are. We like to clarify, right? In a case like the marine biofloor, right? Like it's probably better that certain students who are in marine programs, for example, are the ones who are living in that community. But those who are interested or those who are you know, thinking that their career will take them in that trajectory are absolutely fine to apply for the position. In the case of this particular one, I believe psychology was the one that we were talking about. That is absolutely a fit. But to
Hey,
be
and
clear,
one
I think that
final,
lots of different programs are.
all right. And one final question here about the LLCs. If someone is interested in joining an LLC, do they create their own roommate group as well, or should they leave that blank? Should they still be looking for roommates? Can you answer some of those?
That's a great question. LLCs and TLCs supersede roommate groups, except occasionally in the case of our honors community, which is sort of a separate case. We always have the sort of we have the issue, or I guess the situation, I suppose, that students will decide that they would prefer to live with their roommate groups as opposed to the LLC, TLC, but they still want access to the programs. We generally will supersede the roommate groups for the LLCs or TLCs, except in the case where we see that everyone in the roommate group is part of the LLC or TLC. A student can absolutely request if they'd really prefer to be part of a different community, to not live the LLC or the LLC or TLC. I do think personally that the experience provided by the LLC or TLC is a more meaningful one than the roommate group you'd want to pick. The benefits to living in a community like that are, I think, much more meaningful personally than the roommate group affair. So I would say it is a possibility, I suppose, that you'd be able to keep your roommate if they're part of the same LC TLC, but assume that you may live with people who are just in your LC or TLC.
Right, great. Thank you. So that's going to conclude our Q&A portion of this, but if you do have any other questions, please reach out to either us here in admissions or to our housing office. Um, Before we go, as you move forward in this process, please stay connected with each other. Join our uni class of 2030 Instagram page. It's a great way to introduce yourself to your fellow classmates, maybe meet potential new roommates, and just learn more about your class of 2030. It's a great way to kind of see familiar faces before you even step foot on campus here. Now, what are your next steps? So, as we were just discussing, your next steps for filling out housing, but also signing up for those orientation and trailblazers. We still have time and space available in those. So, if you're interested, please scan that QR code and or check out the website to register for those. And again, please finalize those housing and dining contracts. As Sam was mentioning, the earlier you get those housing contracts in, the more likely you are to get your first choice. Now, I know many of you are finishing up your senior year of high schools. I hope graduation's right around the corner, and congratulations for you guys for making it through there. And I hope you're very excited to step foot here on campus. But before you do that, once you get your finalized high school transcript, please make sure to send that in to us here in admissions at admissions@une.edu. We will need your final transcript just to make sure you did graduate before coming coming here to campus. And then finally, your health forms. You can finalize and submit those in by July 1st. Again, you can find more information on these and all the links to do all these things at une.edu/new nor'easters. And again, like I was mentioning, there's still plenty of time to sign up for your orientations. I know we had some questions about transfer orientations. The transfer orientation is September 1st. So if that applies to you, make sure you're signing up for that one. For all you other first year students, you can see our orientation dates up on the slide right here. So again, if you haven't already registered and signed up for one of those, please make sure to do that as well. We also offer some parent orientations during those dates as well. So if you want to make sure you get in for that, make sure you do it. I see a quick question here about the health insurance waiver. Don't worry about that right now. You will not be able to waive the health insurance until July 1st. So that's going to stay on the bill up until July 1st, and then you'll be able to go in and waive that. So don't stress if it's not working right now. It's not going to, again, until July 1st. All right, and finally, if you guys do have any further questions or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out, whether it's about your roommate groups, your dining plans, meal plans, maybe you have some sort of dietary restrictions, reach out to Parkhurst. They're great and will be able to help work with you. And again, if you have questions regarding your orientation or Trailblazer trips, reach out to our orientation or Trailblazer offices. They'll be able to help you out. Otherwise, we're always here to help you. Each of you have a specific counselor assigned to you in admissions. Myself, I oversee students out of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. So if you're from there, I am your admissions counselor. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you're not from those areas, you should see your admissions counselor's information within your application portal. So again, if you don't know where to ask your questions, reach out to us first, and we're happy to either help answer them for you or direct you to the best possible person to answer your questions. And if you're not sure who exactly your admissions counselor is, just reach out to us here in undergraduate admissions and we'll get you connected with your specific admissions counselors. So you can scan that QR code there. It'll bring you to our admissions page with all of our informations on there. So again, any further questions or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to help you out through this process. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. We're super happy to have you here and share some information about our housing and living on campus. And we're super excited to see you on Move In this fall. Have a great night and go Nor'easters.